welcome to the Dr. Dare Show Friday night on Facebook and YouTube Live. Um, when you come in, make sure that you click share and like and all of that stuff. And we have our special guest, Lola. Is that what you want me to call you, Lolita?
Yeah, you could call. Does it matter now?
Because I just, right, I just put it. Do you prefer Lola? You want me to
Yeah,
use
Lola
Lola?
is fine.
Lola. Okay. So we have Lola here, our special guest. We're going to be talking about grief and loss, a mother's pain. I'm going to share uh, some grief and loss stuff. But right now, just when you come in, tell us how your week has been, and just say hello and make sure you share the video. Um, and we will get started. Usually, I start like 8:40 just to give everybody a chance to come in. Um, so, how's your week been, Lola? I need
My
to write it
week,
down before I forget.
my week, my week has been good. Stress free. Well, a little stressful, but
Mhm.
you know, everything always works out. And usually, when I remember that, it's stress free.
Mhm.
So
And then
it's
you have
it's
a
been
little
good.
cat. You have a little cat to help you with that stress.
No, she stresses me. She's here playing with my pill bottle. I just dropped my pill bottle, and she's playing with my pill bottle on the floor.
Oh,
So
so that's
I
the
don't
new
know if you
toy for
can
the
hear
moment.
that. Yeah, I don't know if you could hear that, but
Not really. Not
okay,
really.
good.
Welcome, y'all. Say hello when you come in so we'll know that you're there. I see two people in here so far. I know it's Friday. It's cold here. I don't know what is happening outside. Uh, it's a miserable cold, I feel like. But the other day it was kind of warm.
I know it's
So
bipolar.
it
I don't know.
is.
Can I say that?
You can. You
It,
can. You can. Hey
it is
sis.
really.
My sis is on. Donetta is on.
Oh, hello, friend, sister.
And Gregory's on. Hey Greg.
Hello, Gregory.
And see Lola. Okay, now I put the grief and loss up there. You see the little flash. And so when people
Yeah.
have questions or something, I put them up there so that
Okay.
you can see them. I'll be paying attention though.
Okay.
How Greg and Donna, how has your week been so far? Well, it's over actually. How Virginia? I know y'all have snow. Please keep that there.
Yes, please.
Donna, I don't know if you have. You're in Maryland. I forget. Did y'all have snow in Maryland? Very good, Greg. Awesome, awesome.
I want to relocate, but I can't think of any place where it doesn't snow except Florida, and they're crazy in
Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, they're crazy in Florida, and the weather is the storms and
Yeah, they have the hurricanes and
hurricane.
stuff.
Yeah, that's not a. Mm-mm.
So unless I go to, well, Midwest has the tornadoes.
Yeah,
So there's nowhere to go that has good weather like Georgia.
right. To protect, because Georgia, we get mild. Our weather is mild on most things, but hey, Kevin. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining, Kevin. So again, welcome to the Dr. Dare Show live on Facebook and YouTube. We usually do Fridays. We usually do topic hops, but I've been having special guests each week, and they come in and they share their stories with us. Hey, Karen, and we like those stories. And so tonight we're talking about grief and loss, a mother's pain, and we've all experienced some type of loss. And so I'll be sharing the type of loss that I've had, and then we have our guest Lola, who's going to share her story um, with y'all. We can ask questions, um, and I'll post them on the screen so that everybody can see them. Karen says good evening. She's on YouTube, so I know sometimes Facebook people can't see the YouTube comments, but she's on there. Good evening, Karen. How was your week, Karen? Kevin, how was your week? And we will be starting at 8:40, so we have like 5 minutes. But don't forget to share the video. We're gonna make this like educational so that so they said Karen says, welcome Lola. Um,
Thank you.
she says happy to have you. So we're gonna make this educational so that people who are grieving can get something out of this as well. I've been doing a lot of grief videos for my TikTok, and it's been getting a lot of responses. If you go out there, people are talking to each other about their grief and loss, and you know, so people need it because I think when you start talking about grief or loss, people usually are afraid to talk about that because they think it's going to stir up emotions and but I think it's really good to talk about it because what they teach us in therapy when we were becoming therapists is that you have to lean into your fears because if you don't, that fear or that thing just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you're just trying to avoid it, and then eventually your body's going to say, you know what, that's enough, we need to break you down or something like that. So we want to share. I on my TikTok story. I guess I'm starting now. I guess because I'm just talking up. Uh, Karen, good. You had a great week. Great week. It is cold here in Georgia. It's freezing. Kevin, you had your week was very productive. Uh, Hope the same for you. Yes, mine was productive. It actually went by kind of fast. How was yours, Lola? How was your week?
It was good. It was good.
Hmm.
Good and bad. I paid a lot of bills, so I lost a lot of money. Well, not lost, but
You
I ain't
used it.
got it no more. But bills are paid.
Yes, that's a blessing. That's good to have the money
Yeah.
to be able to do that. Karen says, Dr. Dare, your grief videos have been helpful and freeing. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's the one video has 192,000 people have listened to, and then some of them, other ones, they're following behind in that number. So people need it. So grief and loss. Grief. To me, there's 5 stages of grief. Let me see if I can quote them out of my memory. Is um, denial, depression, anger, bargaining, acceptance. Did I get them? Yeah.
It's DABDA. DABDA. So denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
I remember that from EMT school.
Oh, really? I forgot you tried some of everything though.
I have. I have. I'm a nomad. I do everything, go everywhere.
That's
So yeah.
good. That's good. That is good. Let's see. So everybody checked in with how they're doing and how their week is going. We are going to start in a few minutes. 1 minute. Let's see. Trying to put the stages. So if you don't know the stages, you can Google that. They're out there. It's everywhere. I'm trying to find one so that I can post on here. So what I found is if you don't fully grieve, that eventually um, it may not be at that moment. If you try to avoid, eventually your body's going to tell you that something is wrong and that you need to actually grieve or talk about this thing. And so hopefully Lola will help us with her process of how she handled um, the death of her son. Um, and thank you, Lola, for coming in. I've known you since I was at Delta for 2001. I started at 2001. Yeah, I started at 2001 and left at 2010.
It's been a while. It's been a long.
Yeah, so 2010 is the last time I was at Delta. That's when I left Delta. I started at Delta 2001. So,
Wow.
yeah, 2010. Yeah. Oh,
That's
wow. Yeah. So we've known each other for a long time. I've been in Georgia for a long time.
golly.
Yep.
I didn't realize it had been that long. Hey, friend.
Right. That's what it's been.
You're an
Yeah.
you're an OG now.
Uh-huh.
Oh, goodness.
You didn't realize it was that long?
I did not realize it had been that long. I really didn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So it looks like it slowed down, and that's okay. The numbers jump up and down the whole time. So stages of grief on the screen that I just put up there, just so if anybody needs it, it's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So there's five stages, and the creator of that is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. So if you want to see the original person who actually created it, that's who did, but it's just the stages of how you kind of cope with a death of a loved one or a friend or you know so let's get started. So I've been doing a lot of grief videos, so that's what sparked me to um, start this series this year in 2022, is to have different guests come up and talk about their experiences with different things, not only grief and loss, but just relationships. Like 2 weeks ago, we had Stephanie who talked about trauma bonds, where you meet people due to a trauma that you had, and you developed a friendship through that. And the problem with that is that's the only thing you had in common with that person is the trauma that you both shared about something. And then it's difficult to maintain that relationship because once the trauma, you've processed the trauma, it's went away. Now you're just stuck with this friendship and you really maybe not know the person. So I wanted to talk about grief. We've all had some kind of, well, I'll say most of us have had some kind of loss. Like I've lost my parents, a brother-in-law, a sister. I had a nephew murdered in a car in Virginia. Um,
Mm,
yeah, he was in a car with, I think, two other guys, and the guy that was behind them kind of killed everybody in the front seat. So
mm,
um, yeah, so I've experienced all of those griefs. So I started sharing those stories on my TikTok page, and I realized people really needed to experience someone talking about grief and not just holding it in because, I think we're taught growing up, I know in some families, not all families, I don't like to generalize, that you don't talk about death of somebody. You just kind of keep it quiet. You put everything away. You put their pictures away. When you bring them up, you have this fear that you're going to make people upset. And it's actually, I feel like that makes it worse. What do you think, Lola? Do you think it makes it worse not to talk about it, or how do you feel about that?
yeah, I talk about Brandon. You
Okay,
know, I share stories about him if it comes up, maybe too much. I don't care. He was
good.
here. He deserves to be talked about and remembered and honored. So, the one thing I had to realize was that death is a part of life and it's not something that we should really be uncomfortable about, you
Right.
know? So for me, at first it was like, probably making somebody uncomfortable. And then it was like, I don't care. you know,
Right. Right.
it's my baby. He deserves to be talked about. He deserves to be remembered. So if I could talk about him, I do. I say his name as much as I can because he was here and he
Good.
was special, at least
Right.
to me. So
Right.
yeah, I talk about him a lot.
Good.
And I probably make people sick, but yeah, I talk about it, and I think people should. I think it's a disservice to just kind of tuck someone away that had an impact on your life and even on
Right.
other people's lives. So I think
Right.
that we should talk about them. We should honor them. We should. laugh and remember the good times. You know.
Exactly. Because what I see people coming into therapy, I've had a few clients where they've lost their moms or dads or something, and the first thing they're doing is they're avoiding talking about them, and I'm in their face with it. Just we're talking about, I'm asking them questions about mom, memories, dad, and a year later, they're just like now they're talking about the person, and I've seen that that has helped them move from that depressed moment or depressed mood into a much brighter person. And so Lola, can you give us a little background of like what happened with Brandon? And Brandon is Lola's son.
Yes, he was 4.5, 3 weeks from his fifth birthday, and he was visiting his dad in Houston. And they had called that morning. They had gone to, I guess, like a fair or carnival or something that Saturday. So I talked to him Sunday morning, and he had to tell on his daddy because he went to a bounce house and he put his toys down that he
Mhm.
had won, and someone stole his toys. So we talked, and he had to snitch on his daddy and say his daddy didn't buy him another sword.
Mhm.
So I was able to talk to him, and I remember the last thing I got to say to him was that I love you and I miss you.
Mhm.
So I was so glad that I got to have that moment with him and that he was happy. But they went, so his dad felt bad. They went to the park um, to make up, I guess, to make up for
The
him being
lost
upset.
toys.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So they were driving back. I don't know for sure what happened, if he had car trouble and had kind of
Mhm.
stalled out on the highway, but I know that someone was coming onto the entrance ramp and they were drunk
Mhm.
and hit the car, which made it spin out, and then it was T-boned by a large SUV, and he didn't make it.
Wow.
So, you know, he just
Yeah.
couldn't. He had head and neck injuries, so it was my understanding if he had made it, he would have been a vegetable, which,
Mhm.
that just wasn't him, and he was so full of life, that's not how he would have wanted to
To
exist.
live.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
What year was that? What year?
2012.
2012.
Mhm.
Okay. And so how was your life changed by that after that situation happened?
Yeah, you're just kinda lost,
Mhm.
it's just a fog because I went from not thinking I was gonna have kids, not really wanting kids, to having this little person,
Mhm.
just being so in love and not knowing, it's like, wow, this was my purpose
Mhm.
to be his mom. So then for him to be gone, it's like, what do I do now? I didn't have other kids to focus on, so it was just, and I think part of the help was because I did let him go see his dad. I think for a while it was kind of like he was just still visiting his dad
Mm.
and just not being able to maybe talk to him. So then when it got, after everything quiets down and the funeral is over, everybody disappears.
Yeah.
And so then I got all the pills.
Mhm.
They want to pump you up with pills, and it just wasn't, I didn't like that because it
So
was
was
like,
that the like psychiatrist or
yeah.
therapist? Okay.
They wanted to give these different pills, and I tried one or two. The Xanax, I slept a lot,
Mhm.
and they gave me something else, and it was like I was still very aware internally, but
Mhm.
externally, I was very slow and lethargic and couldn't respond to any. It was weird. It was like being two people.
Mm.
So I said, no, I'm just gonna, you know, unpack this. and just deal
Mhm.
with it. And so that's what I do.
Mhm. So
You
that
know,
first stage, you were in denial, like, cause you thought, "Hey, he's still with his dad." That was the way your body reacted to that
yeah,
trauma.
from
Mhm.
from the time I got the phone call, I he told me, I hung up on him. The priest or pastor, whoever from the hospital called and
Mhm.
hung up on him. You know, and it was just it was it was deny but then it's like you have denial, but then you can't deny it
Right.
because you have to, you have the hospital calling talking about donating organs,
Mhm.
just hours after you've learned that your child is gone. You have people coming over, so it's like it's not real, but it's real.
Mhm.
So
Sorry about that. Mm. You
so
heard
it's
his car outside.
so it's kind of like you're in two different places because it's
Mhm.
so I don't think that even with all of that, it's like I didn't have the bargaining. You couldn't have it.
Mhm.
I think I still go between the depression and acceptance at this point, and it's been since 2012.
Mhm.
Um, I had to admit, like, girl, you kind of depressed.
Mm.
you know, I had to
Mhm.
kind of admit that actually at the end of last year that I was probably dealing with well, not even dealing with depression, but I was going through some depression.
Mhm.
But it's still, I think that in all honesty, when it comes to
Mhm.
those 5 stages, they kind of like go back and forth.
Yep.
It's
That's
not like
exactly what I tell my clients. It's
yeah,
yeah. So
you don't
tell
just
me
have
back and forth.
denial.
Mhm.
It's like you'll go, some days you may be angry,
Right.
still, especially like for me, when
Mhm.
I hear stories of people hurting their kids, or you hear of meth addicts selling their kids, and there's people just not even appreciating what they have, and it's like, my kid was loved, my kid was wanted. Why was he taken from me? And you have these people out here having kids that they don't even take care of,
Right.
and it's you just get pissed, just angry, angry, angry. Like, why are they even giving a kid and mom was taken away?
Mhm.
You know, you can't really bargain in that in that sense because they're
Mhm.
gone. It's like
Mhm.
you can't even. There's no deal to make. But yeah, the sometimes you will have the denial, like, no, this is, I'm gonna wake up from this. This is just a bad dream.
Bad dream. Mhm.
And then you have the depression and acceptance. That's kind of, I think, the longer lasting ones are the anger, the depression, and the acceptance are the ones that I still teeter between.
So it's like a roller coaster with those stages. That's how I describe it
Mhm.
to my clients. Like, and it doesn't matter how long it's been. You just
Mhm.
bounce in and out of these stages. Now, bargaining, me and a client, we were reading some literature. It's actually a part of bargaining is it doesn't look like the way we think it looks as well.
Mhm.
It's not like if I did this, can I bring them back? That's part of it. But it's
Mhm.
also like kind of like what you were talking about with people having children and not taking care of them. And you're like, well, why do they get to have kids and they're not taking care of them and mine is taken away? So we thought that
Mhm.
was kind of strange with, and I'll have to pull up that literature because it explains bargaining in a little different. There's different perspectives of that. Hey Pat, glad you joined. Glad you joined. Yeah, so anger, what about with dad? How did that interaction go? You smile. You're like,
Um,
And if y'all have questions out there, you can post them and I'll share them.
It was people think I'm crazy
Mhm.
because he was charged with DUI as well,
Mm.
that he had been drinking, so he got a felony.
Mhm.
And but so it was hard as well because although we had broken up, I was trying not to be that bitter baby mama, and I
Mhm.
was thinking about what
Mhm.
was best for my kid. So I had a lot of guilt for letting him go see his dad and that happening. But then
Mm.
I also had to understand that I feel like we all have a designated time. So if it hadn't have been there, it would have been here. And I wasn't equipped to deal with that happening on my watch. So for
Mm.
but with his dad, I have to say that he was an awesome father, except for this,
That
instance.
situation. Mhm.
He
Mhm.
was an awesome father. So I had to acknowledge that they were like the best of friends. He loved his dad and his dad loved him.
Mhm.
So we're still friends,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it's like if I want to talk about Brandon, who has more stories, than his dad.
Then it's sad.
And I know that his dad is dealing with it way harder than his dad has a lot more on his shoulders to deal with than I do,
Right. Right.
because he was there, and some would say it's at his hands
Right.
partially.
Mhm. Oh,
So I know that so there was a lot of forgiveness that had to take place.
and I'm sure
Um
that wasn't easy initially, right? Or
it
was it?
Yes and no. There are days that I still struggle with it, but I have to remember who he was with him, you know,
Mhm.
and I know that he would never have just purposely put him in harm's way,
Right. Right.
because I sometimes I felt like he was a better father than I was a mother,
Mm.
because I had to be the strong arm, he was soft.
Mhm.
He was he was soft when it came to him. Like, he would do something, he's like, "Uh-oh, gotta release the kraken," you know, "Gotta
Mhm.
let your mama handle it," because he was just the softy on him. So, but it's hard, but I know the type of relationship they had. I know how he felt about him. I know that he still struggles, you know,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I know there's nobody he can really turn to, because number one, he was there. Number two, he's a man, so you
Mhm.
can't really have those moments, as a guy.
We're trying to
But
change that, but
yes,
yeah. But you
yeah,
know what I'm hearing, Lola, is that you processed a lot of this to get to where you are right now. Like it because when you lose someone like that in an accident, you're dealing with trauma, not only just grief, but you're dealing with trauma as well because this thing just happened and it wasn't expected and now
hmm
that's a shock and so yeah. So how did you get to where you are now?
um,
And
honestly,
hey Angela, sorry, I didn't mean I was trying to
honestly, it was not conventional,
mhm.
and it's not everybody's cup of tea. But I don't apologize for it because I did what I had to do to be
Mhm.
okay. But a month before he passed, I was in Vegas.
Mhm.
And I'm in Vegas. And you know me, I like to have fun. I'm going to be out in
Uh-huh.
the streets. But on a Saturday night, I was stuck in the hotel room, and for some reason, I just could not pull away from the TV. There was a Long Island Medium marathon on. And
Mhm.
I'd heard of her, never been, pressed about her show before, but for some reason on this particular day, I was stuck and just had to watch this whole marathon. Could
Mm.
not explain it. Did not want to leave the
Mhm.
room. Had to watch this marathon. Um, So after he passed, after the funeral was over, something just said, see a medium.
Mm.
Because I was, the struggle with me was there was no way he could be here and be the force that he was and just be gone.
Mm.
I was like,
Mhm.
I can't deal with that.
That
And then
part.
school was about to start. So I called the Long Island Medium. There was a 3-year wait. And I was like, oh no, can't do, I'm going to be, honestly, I was like, I'm not going to survive for three
For
years.
3 years.
And I
Wow.
was like, I'm going to take myself out.
Mhm.
So I happened to find one in New Orleans. And so school's about to start, which was a struggle for me because this was going to be his first year in kindergarten and everybody was going to be posting their school pics and everything. So I went
Mhm.
to New Orleans and I saw this medium and she was absolutely amazing. She didn't ask questions, she was just there were things that she told me that I had forgotten. There
Mhm.
were things that she like I was looking to buy a house and I hadn't told
Mhm.
anybody.
Mhm.
Well, I told my girlfriend, I said I can't buy a house now because every time I looked at houses, I was picturing him in them.
Mhm.
And now I can't I said I don't even want to buy a house. And she told me, she said, "You were looking to move." She was like, "He still wants you to move because he's still going to be there with you." I didn't tell her that.
Mm.
Nobody knew. And I didn't tell
Wow.
anybody I was going to New Orleans to see a medium.
Mhm.
And his godmother said, at one time, had said he's there, he's with, I think it was her nephew or cousin or someone that had died at the
Mhm.
age of 3.
Mhm.
And I think his name was Chance or something. And the medium said that he was there. He had a younger spirit with him with the initial CH. And so I had to call her afterward and I asked her, what was his initials, and it was CH. And there was,
CH.
yeah, I
Oh,
didn't
wow.
know. I didn't
Wow.
know. There were things, there was a game he liked to play with his grandfather called Rocket Ship. And she was like, he
Mhm.
keeps mentioning a rocket ship. She was like, did he like space or something? Because he keeps mentioning a rocket ship. And I was like, the hell?
Right. I'm
And
getting chills like, "Oh."
it was just amazing. She was like, he's with you. And the thing was, we were talking about going to Disney World. Like the
Mhm.
Christmas before he passed, he got a Burger King gift card. And he was like, we could go to Disney World now. I got monies. So
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, I got to teach you financial literacy if you think that having a card. But she said, he keeps saying it's like Disney World. It's like Disney World. And he wishes that he could show you, you know,
Mhm.
everything that he could do. But she just knew, like, I had gotten a phone call from the lawyer and I had just broke down in tears. Nobody was with me,
Mhm.
and I was just talking to Brandon. And she said, "Yeah, he says you got off the phone and you were just crying and he was there with you." And I was like, "What?"
Oh my gosh.
And when I got home from my trip,
Mhm.
she said to pay attention to the signs. He's going to let you know that he's with you. And when I got home from my trip, I walked in, I put my bags down, and the lights kept flashing on and off, and you could hear the breaker, flipping.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I started laughing. I said, "We don't play with the lights, Papa." And it stopped, So I knew that he was okay.
Mhm.
And I knew that he was always with me. And that made me feel, see, don't have me crying.
Oh,
But I knew that he was okay. And I knew he was always with me. And I mean, that's the one thing you want as a parent. You always want your kids to be okay.
right, right.
So if he was okay, then I was okay.
Mhm.
So now I had to kind of just, because the one thing about Brandon was he just loved life. He would wake, it was so weird to me. He just wake up smiling.
Wow.
Before you, some kid, I'm not a morning person.
Mhm.
And some
And a
people
lot
they,
of kids aren't either.
yeah, they just, struggle, but you just
Mhm.
tap him or say it's time to wake up and he was just smiling and ready to seize the day and you
Mhm.
know just ready to go. And I said that's how I want to try to be,
Mhm.
in order to honor him, is to just enjoy life because if nothing else, each moment isn't promised.
Right.
I had to see that the hard way. But to know that he was okay and to pay attention to the signs that he gives was just that kind of helped me,
I
because
love that. Mhm.
it was just like weird stuff was happening and that people don't, and I swear I'm not crazy and people probably think I'm crazy, but I went to New York
Mhm.
and I was still kind of in didn't care whether I lived or died, you know,
Mhm.
one of those things. And I was in the bed and I just felt this presence over me, and it
Mhm.
wasn't a good presence, but I could just feel it. And I heard him scream, "Leave my mommy alone."
Oh.
And it just kind of grunted and went away. And I was laying in that bed because it was dark. I was in the hotel. I was laying in that bed. I was like, "What in the hell?"
So you heard all of this, like you.
hmm
Oh.
I was like, I don't know what is beyond, but I'm a believer that this isn't the last stop. You
Oh, I
know,
believe that too. Yeah.
so to know that he's okay and that he's watching over me and that I
Mhm.
still have that love for him and from him kind of helps push me on. So I don't get as sad about death as I used to.
Me either. Yeah.
But it's of course I would still love to have him here,
Right. Right.
but he's okay. So I have to be. And it's a struggle sometimes, and it's hard to explain
Mhm.
because you have those days, but and people think, "Oh, well, it's been XYZ years,"
That
but
doesn't matter. Yeah.
mm-mm. You still have those days. You still, like his angelversary, his birthday, the holidays. You think about what could have been, and
Right.
they're not here. So you have to just adjust. And it's not like it doesn't get easier, but you do learn to live with it
Mhm.
and kind of compartmentalize it. But you do have your day. You have your days where you wake up and you're mad as hell because you woke up. Like,
Mhm.
damn it.
Mhm.
I gotta do this again without him.
Again. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
it's
how did you learn to cope with the holidays? Like, because I know when I did those videos, that's when everybody was struggling. So how did you cope with the holidays? Or how do you cope with the holidays?
it's just another day.
Mm.
It is it's just another Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. Um I'll watch my little shows.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll pretend he's watching with me, and maybe he is.
Mhm.
But I have the Grinch, my Year Without a Santa Claus, that I have to watch every year. So I'll
Mhm.
just sit and watch those. But for the most part, it's just another day. Sometimes I'll gather with friends, and that's a distraction for a few
Mhm.
hours. Um, but for the most part, is I just treat it as another day to
Another day.
hmm
Okay.
another
Is
day to be
some
free.
years worse than others? Um, as far as grief and
It was harder, maybe the earlier years,
okay.
because he wasn't pressed about Christmas or Santa Claus. He was just all about family. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
it was like, oh, there are presents, okay, but where's my daddy? Where's my mom? He was
Mhm.
he was just about being with family. So he was weird. He was definitely my kid. He just was, you'd be like, be a good boy so Santa Claus can bring you some presents. Yeah, he's like, I can't promise that all year, so I ain't even worried about Christmas. You know,
Right.
he, he, he just like, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm not gonna sit up here and promise you I'll be good all year. So it's whatever. But he would just it was more difficult at first because the holidays were,
Mhm.
well, my thing that I enjoyed with him. I liked waking up and seeing him be surprised at Christmas.
Mhm.
Like, I
Mhm.
got gifts. you know. So it was hard I think that it didn't really even hit me for the first year.
Mhm.
I think for the first year that he passed, I was in denial.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until, because he passed May 20th. So it wasn't until that week of like between Mother's Day and the anniversary of his death
Mhm.
that the depression just really sunk in, like, oh my God, he's gone.
Mhm.
So it took about a year for it to even hit me. So that first Christmas, I think I was just in a daze.
Mhm.
And honestly, it's like the holidays just don't mean anything, you know.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's hard, and I waver back and forth about maybe adopting,
Mhm.
just to get that old thing back and that zest back. But I also I think one of the things is it's hard because I know for me, I don't like having attachments to people
Mhm.
because I don't want to feel what I felt when I lost him.
So there's that fear there of that loss again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Which is weird, but yeah, it's like I don't want to love
Mm.
because I just it's like I don't know if I'm built for it twice. So, so that's the downside as well. Where's
Yeah.
Maddie?
Yeah. So what we see if you're just listening, with the stages of grief, like it doesn't matter how long it was when you lost someone. I tell my clients, it's like a roller coaster. You could be in denial stage, anger, bargaining, depression. Sometimes I feel like, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Lola, that you never really fully get to an acceptance stage. Um, you know that they're not coming back, but I don't know if you fully say, and correct me if I'm wrong, because that's just the way I feel about my parents and stuff. It's just like,
Hmm.
because every time I think about them, I know that they're gone. But I was like you, when my mom passed, I wasn't there. So when I would go back home, it was just like, oh, where is she? Because I never, s- I wasn't there when she died. So I
Hmm.
don't know. What about that? Do you think that a person ever gets to that acceptance stage fully?
Mm, I think you can get to the acceptance.
Mhm.
You're not happy about it, but you can.
Okay.
I think you get to the acceptance, but it's always the what ifs.
Mm.
When you're doing, I'll have my moments where I'm thinking, gosh, he would have turned 15 this year. And
Really?
yeah, it's like I would have been had to trying to teach him how to drive. It's like I'm not a drug user, but that probably would have, you know, tipped me tipped me over to pop a pill or two trying to teach him how to drive. I would have
Mhm.
had to deal with girlfriends by now, or what kind of
Mhm.
sports would he be in? Would he be in sports? So there's always, I think, the what ifs. And
Mhm.
sometimes I like to just pretend in my head or think in my head that in a parallel universe somewhere he's still alive and, you know, we're happy, we're this happy family, and we're good.
Mhm.
I like to pretend that, and sometimes when I find that it's one of those days, but
Mm.
like I've accepted that he's not here, that he's
Mhm.
gone.
Mhm.
I've accepted that. I'm not always happy about it. I would say that there's more of the anger at times
Gotcha.
and the sadness that he's not here because it's like you look at people and I ain't gonna say no names, but you look at people and you're like, how are they still here? You have someone as good as him taken away, you know,
Yeah.
because he was such a sweet kid. I'm always like, whose kid are you? Because he was always so sweet. He didn't like to see anybody upset. Just go up to stranger. If you look sad, he would just go up and hug you. Just
Wow.
he was an absolute doll baby. I was like, this can't be my kid because this ain't me, But he was an absolute sweetheart, and you think, damn, the world needed more of that, and he was taken
Right.
away. And then you got weird people like, well, I'll say you got weird people like Donald Trump that could just
Mhm.
walk around, you know, or just you just got some really awful people that are allowed to walk around, and you have these sweet kids that are taken away, or you
Mhm.
know, like you have something like Sandy Hook. That was shortly,
Right.
I think, like a year after Brandon passed,
Mhm.
and that was hard. That was very overwhelming.
So that was that what we call a trigger? Did that trigger your emotions when that happened?
Yeah, because I guess I kind of shut down.
Mm.
Can you
Okay.
can you hear? I hit a button. I don't know. But
I can hear you. No.
yeah, it was so when you see stuff like that and hear stuff like that, it just yeah, for me I shut down. Other people may react differently, but it's like, how why are they taken away? Why they have to go through something like that, and you have
Mhm.
these other people that are just mean and evil that get to stay, that we
Yeah.
have to tolerate. So then that triggers the anger as well.
Gotcha. So does that happen often? Do you get triggered often? And hey, Kelly. Kelly's on. Lola.
Hey, Kelly. It I don't know if I get triggered often. I probably need more therapy. But I because I think what do they call it, where you have to just kind of protect yourself and protect
Mhm.
you protect your own mental, that I will like tune a lot of things out.
Out. Okay.
And just for my own sanity, because like y- like say for Sandy Hook, to
Mhm.
imagine, I know what I was going through, so to imagine a collective of people at one time to have to experience that. You start to
Mhm.
feel like, what was that Secret Life of Bees
Uh-huh.
with the chick that was put in the she had her wailing wall.
Uh-huh.
That's what it feels like. It becomes too much when
Mm.
you hear story after story after story after story, you know, and you have to kind of protect yourself, or it will take you out of here, you know.
Mhm.
If you don't, grief can really just take you out. So it's probably not healthy, but I do kind of like shut down or tune out, or I'm under the covers for a good 24 hours or something and just trying to zone out.
Protecting your peace, protecting your
Mhm.
yeah. I don't think that's bad. I think it's your way that you're doing self-care. Like, you know, especially if it's going to negatively impact you.
Yeah, it can and I another thing I found that was weird is that you just don't know when you're going to be triggered.
Right.
So like I could go out and be fine one day.
Mhm. Mhm.
I could go out another day and it's just being in a crowd, anxiety would be on 10 for no reason. Or you see somebody, you see a mother with a small child
Mhm.
and you're fine and then you just break down out of nowhere. And you just never know, even to this day, you just never know what might trigger you,
Mm.
which sucks.
But thank you for sharing that, because I don't think people are aware of that. Like, I call them anniversary reactions, or like certain things will trigger that, you know, emotion. But thank you
And
for sharing that.
yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize that either,
Mhm.
because it's like, why don't you want to go out? You're like, I don't know, you know, but
Right.
you have that anxiety where you just don't want to go out because you don't know if you're going to lose it that day. And you can't
Mhm.
explain to someone why you're losing, because it may be something that's really not relatable to your situation
Mhm.
that you just, but still is something that triggers you, you know.
Mhm.
Like it was weird to me to go, I think like a year after he passed, we had homecoming. It was going to be our X number year reunion.
You tried to X that out.
Yeah, I ain't gonna age myself. And they were like, "Oh, are you coming to homecoming?" And I couldn't go. Just
Mm.
the thought of homecoming gave me anxiety. And I never even had anxiety before he passed, but after he passed, anxiety was whew.
Mhm. So I think Karen had a question for you. Let me put it up here. Have you gone to therapy, Lola, to work through your grief?
I have tried. I was telling Fred I've gone to see three therapists and I end up becoming a therapist. They start talking about their issues
Mhm.
and I end up helping them. Like I'm paying somebody what I should be getting paid. So I just try to work through I just try to be cognizant and realistic of what I'm feeling and try to work through it. I mean, in all honesty, I don't see, not to knock you,
I was gonna say you were about to knock therapist.
not to knock therapists,
Go
because
ahead.
I
Be
think
honest though. Be honest to what you
I
feel
mean, I
about.
think therapy is good for some people, and I probably need therapy for a whole bunch of other reasons. But when it comes to losing him, I think that I've handled it the best way I can. I don't think there's anything someone could do or say at this point to
Mhm.
make it better or make me better. It's just something I feel like it's something I just have to walk through. And as
Mhm.
long as I walk through it, and keep pushing, I will be okay as I can be. You're never okay, but
Right.
you know, I mean, but there's some other stuff I could probably use some therapy.
But you know what, Lola? I think you processed. I think what I call processing. I think you've processed the grief. And you said it was unconventional.
Hmm.
With the what was it? What is it? I
Medium.
lost medium. Yeah, and
Hmm.
so I think you processed it with that medium that time, and then along the way you picked up some things from those therapists, right? Just
No,
no. She said no.
I helped them way more than they helped me.
But you know, my method of dealing with grief with my clients, I just let them talk.
Mhm.
Like, I let them talk about that person till we can't talk about them anymore. Then I bring in skills like things to do, like writing letters to that person, keeping that relationship with that person going. Like, don't just put all the pictures up. Like, I'll ask
Mhm.
them, is there a favorite recipe the person used to make or something like that? And I'm like, can we make that this week? And tell me how that, things like that is the way I handle grief therapy, because I feel like it's kind of what you said, and I'm glad you said that because that's gonna make me like do inventory on how I do therapy. I
Mhm.
but I do make them, I let them talk about that person, a lot, to where they be like, we gotta talk about this again. And I'm like, yeah.
But yeah, you kind of need that just to because I think one of the biggest fears also is that you'll forget them.
Right, right.
So you want to talk about them. And that, as I get older, that's one of those things like, Lord, I hope I don't, if I go through dementia or something, the one thing I don't want to do is forget.
That's it, Brandon. Yeah.
hmm But yeah, for me, like I said, it's different. It's not for everybody, but just knowing that he was okay
Mhm.
and that it, and because I was kind of leery, you know, so I googled myself to see what kind of information they could get.
Mhm.
If they Google me first, if they were going to be a scammer or something. But there was so much stuff that she knew that I had even forgotten
Mm.
that and that
Mm.
no one could have known. Like at that time I had a cat and the cat was at the vet getting fixed and there was this little toy that had a little bell in it
Mhm.
and you had to swat it around, to get the bell to ring and I'm sitting there watching TV and the ball starts making noise and I was like, "What in the world?" And I was just like, "If that's you, Brandon, do it again." And it was a few minutes and then it did it again. I was like, "Nah, that's just my mind playing tricks on me." And the
Mhm.
medium was like, "He keeps saying I rang the bell, I rang the bell."
Oh my gosh.
And nobody would have known it because, I didn't tell anybody that. Nobody would have
Right.
known that. So I was like, okay, he's still around. He's still, he's good. So,
Yeah. He's just on that other realm. But
yeah,
Karen says that's amazing. She said this earlier, but I brought it back up. There are people truly blessed with the gift of clairvoyance.
yeah. And I'm just grateful that I was led to her, you know,
Mhm.
and that because there's a lot of fakes out there. So she was
Right.
a good one. Her name was Carrie Roy, for anyone that may be interested.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, New Orleans psychic Carrie Cari Roy. Um, for anyone that just may want to connect with loved ones,
Right.
because a couple of them came through. But that's really what kind of took me from dark to light to help me to begin to heal because I was just in such a dark place that I really was contemplating suicide after
Suicide.
after he passed. I had all those pills that I didn't want to take,
Mhm.
but I was going to take them all together just to be with him.
Mhm.
So that's really what kind of got me over the hump to just
Mhm.
at least try to live,
Yeah.
you know. And then it was kind of weird to think about having another kid, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like them
Mhm.
the way I liked him. Which is awful to say, but he was perfect for me. No
Yeah.
bedwetting, easy to potty train. He was just perfect for me.
Just perfect. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it was just it's hard when you feel like you've just truly lost your person,
Mm.
whether they're
Yeah.
a kid or, a husband or wife, but
Mhm.
I try to tell people that they're okay, but I try not to go into too much depth because some people aren't ready to receive, you know,
Right. Right.
that type of message. But I know that he's okay, so that kind of helps me be okay. And I just try to live my best for him because I know he would not want me all
To be,
depressed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Angela says prayers go out to you. Many blessings. One thing I did want to
Thank
touch on
you.
before we start to end, do you feel like you're a different person than before Brandon passed? Do
Yeah.
you feel like you're the same? Yeah. Okay.
Actually, I feel like I'm a better person.
Okay.
Maybe more patient and more compassionate
Okay.
with people. Um, yeah, more empathetic as well.
Mhm.
You know, there are times that I see somebody break down. I'm like, it ain't that serious. You know, but it's like, child, it ain't that serious. Chill out. But I think for the most part, I am more compassionate than I was before he passed. But there's also that I wish he was here. You know, I wish
Mhm.
his presence was more tangible. But yeah, he did. He made my life a lot better. Because before I was just existing
Mhm.
before he got here. And then, I felt like I had a purpose. So now it's like I feel like my purpose is to honor him. There are still days where I'm kind of like out there just grasping at the air, like why am I still here?
Mhm.
But like I said, I don't know. Maybe one day I keep teetering back and forth when I see so many kids. It's like because I do miss being a mommy, and I think about adopting and maybe making someone else's life better.
Mhm.
And then I watch the ID channel and my mind goes,
Of course. That's my favorite channel too. You watch how
it's,
people change from one thing to that quickly.
yeah, it's like somebody adopts a kid and then the kid kills him or something. Ugh, it's horrible.
I've seen that.
And so I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I shouldn't even be looking at this stuff. But I go back and forth, and I don't know. By the end of this year, I'll make a final decision on that. I think he would like that.
I think so too. I think so too.
I do. I just gotta get my mind ready for it.
And you'll know when that happens. You'll know when you're ready.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
So Karen says, pray about it.
I am praying, meditating, just really. But I don't know. It's like it goes back and forth. It's enough just to get through dealing with this cat. So it's like
Lola has a new cat. So that's what she's talking.
whoo, this is a lot of work.
So Angela says, appreciate the show. Have a blessed week. You are an inspiration for me and so many people. I've lost loved ones as well, not a child, but my parents. So I understand the pain and the process of healing. Thank you, Angela.
I
So anything else for Lola? Go ahead, Lola. What were you going to
I
say?
think I just want to say the one thing that's guaranteed in this life is death.
Yep.
We are going to lose people. Um, so and also so I'll say the one thing that has helped me is that I knew my son had a good life. He was happy. He didn't
Mhm.
see anger in the home. He didn't have yelling in the home. If you every picture of him is him smiling, just always. I think I only have one picture of him not smiling, and that's because I was taking so many pictures of him the first time we went to the movie theater and he was over me.
It's
But
like I'm tired of this.
yeah, it's like, mommy, I'm all about this movie. We're about to see a movie. Chill out.
Mhm.
Let me eat popcorn. But
Mhm.
the one thing I realize is that you really have to appreciate people while they are here. And if you
Yes.
love them and show them love and they know they are loved while they are here, then it makes it easier to accept their transition because you did what you had to do while they were here.
Mhm.
you know. So I think the hardest part is when you have so many regrets that you didn't get to make things right while they were here and now they're gone. So if
Mhm.
there's anything heavy, reach out to people, you know, reach out to
Mhm.
people, let them know you love them,
Mhm.
appreciate them while they're here because especially nowadays you see every time I log on to Facebook,
Ugh.
somebody is gone that just made a
Yep.
post a day or two ago. They were fine a day or two ago and today they're gone. So,
Yep.
you know,
And I
it's
look
just
at that, like, I'll look at somebody's post to see, like, the last time they were alive and
mhm,
from when they died, and I'm just like, that was just, like, so quick.
mhm,
It's yeah.
like it just gone. So I think that would also help the healing as well because I know the last words I got to say were my son were I love you and I miss you. So he knew
And that's
that.
awesome. Yes.
And that helped me a lot as well.
Mhm. Any more questions for Lola before we end this session? We went over an hour.
I talk a lot.
See, and then you enjoy like having sharing your experience with the crowd. Somebody said, "This is a very tough topic for myself. However, listening to other people's stories calms me down. Thank you very much." That's what we
Oh,
wanted. Go
can
ahead.
I just mention that
Yep.
that's another thing, and then I'm gonna let everybody go. That's another thing that helped me too. Somebody added me to a sisters in grieving group or grieving
Mhm.
mothers group on Facebook,
Okay.
and to see these women that had lost their kids, you had some women that had lost multiple kids, some women that had lost kids in just a crazy way. Like one woman, she had two sons, let them go next door to spend the night, and they died. They were killed by a snake.
Are you serious?
A snake had gotten loose in the house. The person had exotic animals,
So it
but
was a poisonous
it wasn't a
snake?
poisonous snake. It was a constrictor.
Oh, so it. Oh.
Yeah, so they had gone to like a petting zoo that day and then came back and were spending the night, and probably the smell of the animals on them caused the snake to come out from wherever it was hiding, and it smothered both of them. But the father and the son that
Oh.
they were staying with were okay. It's like you think about your story, but you hear other people's story, and it's like, golly, I couldn't, and they're not okay. And you see how other people are struggling, and it makes you take inventory of your own life. And that
Mhm.
kind of, I won't say that helped, but it just made me say things could be a lot worse. It could have, he didn't feel any pain. There are some people that felt pain. That it made me count my blessings hearing other people's
Mm.
story, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow.
that helped too. So
So
if
support groups, y'all, if you're out there and you're struggling with something, support groups are a good way to help you process things as well.
mhm,
Because some people don't like that one-on-one therapeutic relationship.
mhm.
So thank you for sharing that. Anything else, Lola?
No, I'm done. I'm
And
gonna
you
hush
said
up
you
now.
didn't. Any more questions? Everybody's like they appreciate you. They appreciate your testimony. Um, and they
I thank
thank
y'all
you.
for listening.
Yes. Great information, great way that you processed and how I'm glad you shared that.
Hmm.
So, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm stepping outside
Yes.
my comfort zone because I don't
Yes.
really talk about this type of stuff.
And you did great. Like you talked more than you said you would.
I know.
And I love it.
It's running my mouth. Okay.
All right, y'all. So if y'all don't have anything else, we are going to end. Good night, Angela. And thank everybody for joining and listening. And we really appreciate it. Thank you, Lola, for coming in and sharing such a special experience that you had. And hopefully, if someone's out there and they're just going through this, that this helps. If you have any questions or you need a therapist, send me a email or text, and I will refer you to one or find you a support group. But and thank you, Kevin, for listening. Kevin said this was good. Be encouraged, Lola.
Thank you. Thank you guys for listening to my rambling.
All right, y'all. So have a good rest of your evening. Enjoy your weekend, and thank y'all as usual for getting on and being supportive. All right. Talk to y'all next week.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.